Joining us now is Matt Gagnon. He is the host of the morning show on Portland's talk show WGAN, talk station WGAN, and is the chief executive of the Maine Policy Institute. Matt, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure, guys. Thanks for inviting me.
So, obvious, if anyone was under a rock for the last 24, more like 72 hours, they may have missed it, but tariffs implemented yesterday, probably some negotiations coming over the next 6 days. Matt, when you are thinking about all of this, and let's hone in here on New England or Maine specifically, what are you looking at in regard to these tariffs and the potential impact more locally here in the New England region?
Well, that's an excellent question. I mean, there's a lot of history here, obviously, in New England. And when you're talking about the manufacturing base, which is what Trump is really targeting with a lot of these tariffs, he's attempting to create an environment where American jobs, American manufacturing, and the middle class, et cetera, can grow. This is an area where we've been particularly hit hard. Paper making in the state of Maine, for instance, was a place that was really where a lot of those jobs existed in the past, and now they're gone. And so when you're looking at the effect of these tariffs for people here, I think that's going to be one measurement, one barometer for them on whether or not they're successful. If they stay in place and if they continue for a while and jobs come back, more manufacturing happens, you start to see some of those jobs return, then I think that they'll view it as a success. If, on the other hand, they don't, and you see rising prices, you see the stock market in trouble, you see jobs kind of hover or decline, the economy contract, a recession, lots of those types of things, you're going to probably see people turn on them very quickly here. So it's a little bit of a wait and see attitude, which I think you're seeing everywhere in the country right now.
Demographics being what they are in New England, Maine being the oldest state in the country, for example, what does the possibility of really bringing jobs back to this region look like, right? You talk about manufacturing in New England, whether it's in Manchester, New Hampshire, I forget the name of the building that goes along the river there for quite a ways, that's been shut down as a manufacturing facility for something like 100 years. What does the possibility of manufacturing in New England look like again in your mind?
That's a difficult question to answer because I think that a lot of this is very dependent on how the other countries react.
Yeah.
And what ultimately happens with the tariff rates in a variety of different industries. The big one for us in Maine is papermaking and the Canadians, right? So a lot of these conflicts in the early part of the Trump administration have circulated around Canada and Mexico, a little bit of China as well. I know that these tariffs are universal. At least the broad-based 10% one is.
Yes.
I know that the reciprocal tariffs obviously are individualized to each country, but Canada has been at the centerpiece of all this. And if that ends up having a trade war start where they're raising tariffs in response to ours, and then we do the same to try to continue the game a little bit, to me, I don't really see a lot of opportunity for manufacturing to come back here. Ultimately, what you really would need to have happen is the Canadians to drop theirs and provide a material advantage for producing in the United States. And I'm not sure, especially with the rhetoric that's coming out of the new prime minister's mouth in Canada, I'm not sure you're likely to see that. So it would, if it does happen, it's going to take a long time. I mean, it's not something that you're going to see major investments by companies in this week, next week, because a lot of them are very nervous and unsure about exactly what the policy will be in the course of the next several weeks and months. And you can't make long-term investment decisions like that.
Speaking of which, Prime Minister Mark Carney is addressing somebody right now as we speak, holding a press conference, presumably in reaction to yesterday's announcement. So we will cover that later on today or tomorrow. Bigger picture here, Matt, to get a little bit into politics or your read there. Forget about the White House for a moment. Elected representatives, senators, what are we hearing in terms of reaction there, and what's been the mood that you've been able to tell on Capitol Hill from those elected representatives from either side of the aisle?
Well, there's been a little mini rebellion in the Republican Party. You have people like Rand Paul out there, obviously our senator in Maine, Susan Collins, who have been seeking in the Canadian example to try to take some action there, but you're likely to see additional actions in reaction to what he did yesterday. I think that is a very small and limited group, though, at this time. So whether or not that's going to grow at all is anybody's guess, I suppose. It is sort of fascinating, though, from a political history standpoint. If you read your history, This is a return to a very old brand of Republican politics. So this is like 19th century Republican, early 20th century Republican, and the Democrats for the better part of the 20th century were the ones that were in trade protectionism and trying to help labor unions and workers and whatnot for a long time. So this is a bit of a reversal, and it's been interesting to watch a lot of the U.S. senators that were elected in a different time, maybe as free traders, shift and morph along with this populist nationalist movement that's grown in the Republican Party and kind of bend the knee to it. I mean, they're all about supporting the president on this, while only a handful of them have defected. So I think that the real question, guys, will be as the economic effects of this start to take hold. If you see a recession, if you see rising prices, if you see a lot of the negative things, do those people that are kind of with the president right now in his own party stay there? Or do they begin to rebel and revolt a little bit? I don't know the answer to that question yet, but I do know that the loyalty that he has right now is pretty strong.
Any other big takeaways or surprises that you got from either markets today or yesterday's announcements that just you're not seeing played out there as you expected over the course of today and yesterday after the announcements?
This is exactly what I expected, honestly. I mean, a little bit of it was dependent on what exactly he announced. I know that there was talk of both the universal broad-based tariffs as well as the reciprocal tariffs, and he did both,
Yep.
which is interesting. So the scope of what he did is, I suppose, mildly surprising. He did campaign on this, but nobody knew what the specifics were really about exactly what he was going to do, and now we're starting to get a sense of that. The market reaction to it is not at all surprising. That's something that would be one of the most predictable things you could have imagined. When you're doing this kind of thing, there are definite effects that will absolutely happen. Trade will decline. Prices will rise. Certainty in a lot of these investments will be a great deal less. And because of that, there's a lot of hesitancy from people that are going to be investing in the market to do so because they don't really know exactly what to do. And they are a little bit pessimistic now that if they're investing in a company that had access to foreign markets and suddenly they won't, what's that going to mean for their bottom line? I don't know. So I'm not going to invest today. So this is very unsurprising and will likely continue. But long term, the question is, how long does it stay? How long do these tariffs stay? And how do markets react when things do change?
Matthew Gagnon is the host of Portland's largest talk radio station, The Morning Show on WGAN, is also the chief executive of the Maine Policy Institute, and joined us today to talk about the implementation of new tariffs from the Trump administration. Thank you, Matt.